And I rise like the day. I rise up, I rise unafraid. I rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again.
So this is my 12-week update video that I wanted to film and put out there. Conscious that I haven't really done much last couple of weeks. I think the last video I did was a bit of a workout montage that I stuck up on YouTube. But also I was really conscious that I didn't want to just start posting up every week, because one, the content isn't great if it's just, I've managed to do an extra 10 minutes or whatever today. But I want to leave it at certain stages to give a bit of context and a bit more meat on the bones of the progress. But for me, 12 weeks seemed like a really good sort of timeline to do something, to post a video, give an update, and let you guys know where I am on the road to recovery. And 12 weeks was, for me, like a really important date, because when I was prepping for this operation, when I was talking to consultants, doctors, nurses, on the forums, on the Facebook groups, everywhere, 12 weeks was the magic number. Was, up to 12 weeks is going to be your recovery time, anywhere up to that. And in the rare scenarios, it can go on longer. And it was what I worked around with my absence from work. When I let the guys know at work that, I was having the operation, it was all last minute, and pretty much I'm not going to be in for 12 weeks. That's how we worked it. And we went from there, 3 months, 12 weeks. And here we are, we're at the 12-week stage. Or in fact, I'm recording this on a Monday, so it's 12 weeks to the day that I went into hospital. And then tomorrow, on a Tuesday, the 12th of May, will be 12 weeks from the date of the operation. And in general, kind of following the theme of the other videos, the recovery's been really good. I'm at week 12. I'm at that stage where, people will be starting to go back to work, starting to do normal activities. And, I'm well ahead of that. I went back to work 6 weeks ago. So at the end of my 6 weeks initial sign off from the doctor, from the hospital, I went back to work. And granted, initially it was a phased return. And the other thing to consider as well, we're going through a global pandemic at the moment. So it's been working from home. So I didn't have to deal with the commute. I didn't have to deal with being in the office, being around other people. And when I'm tired, I'm at home, I can just log off a bit earlier, or, kind of make it work for me. So 6 weeks, phased return during the quarantine was almost ideal. Other than a global pandemic, let's not ignore that issue. But it, for me, returning to work at that time, it worked out perfectly. So my phased return was half days. It worked out well for me, and that's how I planned it. So I think maybe for the first few weeks, I was doing just the morning. So I was logging on about 7, 7:30, and I was logging out by 12, 12:30. Just doing that morning shift, as it were, getting things done and logging off, having lunch, and then just getting on with whatever I needed to do that day. Completely logging off from work. There was no chance of, leaving emails on or anything like that. I was really strict with that. I was like, nope, I've got to my half day point, and I was off. And then that was kind of built up with maybe putting in 1 or 2 full days sandwiched within a week. And then it was a couple of consecutive full days to see how it went on. And then I think it was pretty much the beginning of April. So about 5 weeks, no, it probably wasn't that soon. I'm trying to think now of when it was. Beginning of April, back to work. So it was a couple of weeks after that, working full time. And I think it's maybe been 3 or 4 weeks altogether that I've been working full time. Again, caveated, working from home, no commute. My job normally entails me to travel a lot, even if it is just in the UK. There's none of that, so I'm not necessarily fully up to speed with the job, but feeling pretty good, that I am back, I am working. and working full time. You know, I am pretty strict with my hours. I don't, you know, work too late. I'm normally getting to that 5 o'clock stage, and I'm clocking off, logging out. You know, the job entails that I can, if I wanted to, I could probably, you know, be logged in for a lot longer. But you know, at the moment, I'm still very much taking it easy, in that taking it easy phase. So it's kind of the hours I'm doing. It's normally about 7:30 until 5, and making sure I do take an hour out for lunch, completely logging off, going to have a workout, having some lunch, and kind of getting away from the desk. It's so important to that recovery, but also just kind of switching off, and things like that. So I've got a lot to cover. I'm, you know, gonna do this video as a big video, and it depends. I might break it up into snippets as well, because a lot of the information's like really interesting to you guys. So for me, it, you know, I might be talking a lot, might be rambling like I am now, but hopefully, like all the videos, there's some useful information. Even if there's one or two snippets of what I'm talking about, even if that's useful to you guys, you know, going forward for the past, you know, you might have a friend, family member, yourself might be going through the operation. So any of that, any sort of information that I can give, hopefully be really worthwhile. So I'm going to talk about loads of different topics, in no particular order. I'm going to start off with the INR. So the INR, because if you don't know from the previous videos, I have a mechanical aortic valve. So that was what was replaced back in February. And because of that, I have to be on lifetime anticoagulation medication. And in the UK, the brand name of the medication I take is Warfarin. In the States, it's Coumadin, and obviously in different parts of the world, you might be taking different medication. So the Warfarin, how they measure the effectiveness of that Warfarin is taking your INR level, baselining it against the international normalised ratio, and seeing how long your blood takes to coagulate versus, you know, in a normal scenario. Ever since the operation, you know, I had a few issues when I was in hospital with the INR not getting to level. You know, they always start you off on a real low dosage of Warfarin, like I think it was like 1 milligram, because they don't know how you're going to react to the Warfarin, how sensitive your body is. And sorry, I took a bit of time to get up to that 2.0. So my INR needs to be between 2 and 3, and ideally 2.5. So it did take me a while to get there in the hospital. I got there, I was discharged, and then obviously moved on to my anticoagulation clinic at the local hospital. And those INR checks were done using a CoaguCheck machine. So it was the finger prick, and it was almost instantaneous INR sort of results. And then you were moved into a different waiting area, waiting for the anticoagulation nurse, who would then talk to you about your latest reading, adjust your dosage of Warfarin up or down, and going from there. So I had a few weeks where it was kind of, it was down and up and down, but well within range. It was between 2 and 3, but it wasn't consistent for a couple of weeks. It became consistent. They then moved me on to 2 weekly checks rather than weekly, and at some cases I was having them done on Friday and Monday, so it was like twice a week they were being done. Then the global pandemic hit, so coronavirus hit, and the anticoagulation clinic stopped at hospital. And at that time I believe I was on 7 and 8 milligrams alternating dosage on alternating days. And I had 2 weeks, I think, of no test, because that was my normal window. And then I had to go through my GP, so my local doctors, my general practitioner, and they weren't taking blood tests at the moment, which was really helpful. But they referred me to, we've got where I live, we have a city care centre, so it's kind of like out of hours GP. It's also like minor injuries and all that sort of stuff. Their blood testing facilities were open, and dead. Basically, they were so quiet during a pandemic. No one else was going for blood tests. So I've had all of my blood tests. I've only on the most recent, I've actually had to wait for 5 minutes. All the others has been straight in and out, which is really good. My INR, however, has been all over the place the last 4 to 6 weeks. It's been 1.9 for 2 consecutive tests, so over a 4 week period. And then on my most recent test, which was actually last week, it dropped to 1.8. And both occasions, my warfarin dosage was modified. So it was modified to 8 milligrams Monday to Friday and 7 milligrams on Saturday and Sunday. Now I'm on 8 milligrams every day, and I have a blood test on Thursday to see what's going to happen with the INR. Is it stabilising? Is it going up? Is it going down? And do they need to increase? So this is all new to me. I was pretty consistent with my INR. I thought I had this nailed on. I knew that there was going to be things coming in the future with my INR. But the thing that concerned me was that although I'm eating different foods, I'm eating the same food groups. I've kept it quite consistent of what I eat for breakfast, lunch and dinner, what I snack on, what I drink. All of that is consistent. So although I might not eat exactly the same foods every day, the food groups and nutritional content of those food groups is pretty much spot on every day and for those meals. So I was really concerned about, why this INR was changing, why it was dropping. It's not well below 2, it was just below 2. But, I wasn't really convinced that by doing just an extra 8 milligram dose on Saturday and Sunday rather than a 7 milligram was going to give me that boost that I needed. So I put a call into the anticoagulation clinic, because obviously I'm not seeing anyone at the moment, just having the bloods and then getting the results back next day in the post. And got a call back a few hours later, which, for me is really good. In the middle of a pandemic, we're still getting really good healthcare, so can't fault that at all. So the lady that spoke to me, and I've dealt with her before, she was saying that, it is the case with warfarin. People react differently to it. She said, she's got some patients, similar situation to myself, where it's a mechanical valve, is requiring the anticoagulation medication. Some patients on 1 milligram, and they're jumping all over the place, higher end of 2. And some that are 20, 30 milligrams a day. So that just kind of, for me, gave me the context of, there is a big boundary of where the dosage is. She then went on to explain that actually there are a few other factors that can change the INR level, not just the types of food you eat, obviously in the vitamin K content and how your body reacts to the warfarin, how much warfarin is needed based on how much vitamin K you're eating. And the thing for me that was the trigger point, and I've gone, okay, that is the reason why mine is a bit lower, is she said that actually working out, exercising and stress can cause your INR to change, up or down. It can go whatever way. It's one of those things. And one of the topics I'll go on to speak about in a bit is exercising. I have started to exercise more and more and more during my recovery, and even more so since my INR level has been dropping. So I'm starting to understand that I have to be consistent with eating, exercising, drinking, everything to try and keep this INR within range. So going on to working out, so that was always such a big part of my life pre-operation. And I've mentioned before that being told at the age of 14 that I was due a second open heart surgery, and I had this aortic valve that needed potentially repairing or replacing in the future. That was my sort of motivating factor to look after myself, work out, exercise, play sport, eat relatively healthy, and it's been a big part of my life. When I was when I was 14 and I was diagnosed with this, I was a fat teenager. There was no doubt about it. I was massively overweight for my age and for my height and everything else, all those parameters. And it, you know, something needed to change. And even though I'd already had open heart surgery, being told I needed another one was a, you know, a bit of a kick up the backside. It was that motivating factor. So, you know, it's been such a big part. You know, I play hockey, I lift weights. I don't tend to run too much, but you know, do some cardio every now and again. But I prefer doing my cardio in sport, so playing hockey, playing football, whatever it is. That's, you know, that's my preferred method. You know, pretty much since week 5, I've been ramping up my recovery, my workout, from walking to steady state cardio on an air bike and spinning bike, doing some really basic movements, like weightlifting movements, not potentially with low weight, just the bar, using resistance bands, or even no weight at all, just using the body to go through those motions, doing a lot of stretching, and some yoga as well, just to get that whole range of motion of the body going. You know, any pushing exercises, pulling exercises, all of that really started week 5, week 6, and it started to ramp up and up. And you know, I've felt some repercussions, you know, a bit tight in the chest around the incision, you know, a bit of shortness of breath, but I've been really good at not pushing myself. You know, I've been listening to my body, and because I was so symptomatic pre-operation, you know, now I'm, you know, miles ahead, far fitter than I was last year, and potentially in 2018 as well. So, you know, there isn't that niggling thing in the back of my mind that, God, I was running a marathon 4 months ago. You know, I wasn't. I was barely able to walk. So I think that has helped the mental aspect of slowly gearing up the workout, slowly increasing that intensity, and slowly kind of putting more stress, strain and demand on the body. I think that has really helped. The fact that, you know, I was so far down on my fitness levels that, you know, those gradual steps have really been spurring me on and helping me progress. So I won't go into too much detail in this video about my workouts. I hope there is another post, there's another video, bit of a montage, and I will probably do a specific video around the training that I am actually doing. But to give you an overview, and this is a typical week, and again, this isn't for look what I can do, what other people are doing, or whatever. Everyone's on their own journey. Just reiterate that point. What happens? So on a Monday, I wake up 6 o'clock in the morning. I go into the gym that's in the garage. I work out on the air bike, steady state cardio for 20 minutes, listening to a podcast, watching a YouTube video, something like very steady state. Heart rate is anywhere between 100 to 115 beats per minute. Nothing more than that. Absolute steady state, fasted cardio. That's it. I then shower, change, breakfast, and then log into work at about 7:30. I work through till 12 o'clock, log off, back in the garage in the gym, and lift some weights for 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And at the moment, what I'm focusing on is range of motion is key to make sure I'm keeping that range of motion in all the exercises. So focusing on a bit of a full body blast, looking at the legs, shoulders, backs, triceps, biceps, all of the major constituents that you need to do. At the moment, I'm focusing on high reps, real high reps of 25 reps in 3 sets, that sort of workout. So nothing too heavy. I had a week or 2 of lifting heavy, and say lifting heavy, nothing near where I was lifting previously. I had a target in my head, and it wasn't even body weight target. So I weigh at the moment about 70 kilos. So in my mind, I was never going to go over 70 kilos for squats, bench, deadlift, anything like that. Any of the big compound lifts, I was never going to go over body weight. And I think for bench, I think I stopped at 60. I mean, that was a nice, comfortable weight. Squats, I think I went up to 70 and then stopped, and deadlifts 70 again and then stopped. So went quite high with the weight but then stopped, you know, because I don't need to be doing that at the moment. I don't need to be putting my heart under undue stress. I was comfortable where I got up to, and then I switched it into a more high rep range. So it's really low weight, really high rep, get the heart pumping a bit more. So that is a Monday, Wednesday and Friday. So I work out steady state fasted cardio in the morning, and then bit of a weights workout in the afternoon for 30 to 45 minutes, depending. And then in the evening, I'll go out and walk the dogs. It's normally about a 45-minute walk with them. So a bit more exercise there. On a Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, I wake up same time, 6 o'clock in the morning, but I do the most horrendous thing. Put on some joggers, put on a jumper and some trainers and go for a run. It is awful. I don't know why I do it to myself. It's one of those things that when I'm doing it and after I've done it, it's the best thing ever. You know, I love running. The minute I'm waking up in bed, it's the worst thing I can think of. As I'm walking out the door, I couldn't think of doing anything worse. But you know, it has really helped. And the good thing is, I've got a smartwatch, so it tracks my run via GPS as well as the heart rate, albeit based on the wrist. So it's not as accurate as a chest heart rate monitor, but it's pretty good. But the one thing I've found over the last 3-4 weeks I have been running, my heart rate was around the 150 rate, and I wasn't going fast, you know, and then that has come down. So what I'm doing, I'm sticking to the same route. So I've got the same parameters I can compare to, you know, the route is the same. The speed and how my body reacts to the heart rate and the resting heart rate afterwards, how long it takes me to bring that back down to a good steady resting heart rate. The distance I run is 3.6 kilometers, and there's absolutely no reason for that other than there's a route from my house that I know is a pretty good route. Not too many people about. It's pavements all the way, so in the winter when I've run it before, there's street lighting and things like that. It's not muddy, it's perfect. So that's the only reason for the distance. And the first time I ran, it was all about not stopping. It was all about doing this distance from door to door, 3.6 kilometers, no stopping. So it was quite a slow, steady pace. You know, I was definitely not beating any world records, absolutely not. But for me, it was all about my own journey on this. And my target I set myself that day was to not stop running. You know, do not stop running no matter what. And I got all the way around. I think it took me about 29 minutes, almost 30 minutes. And for 3.6 kilometers, that is definitely slow. And then ever since then, it's just spurred me on to go quicker and quicker and quicker. And I've been reducing that time. You know, I've been taking 2 minutes off here, 30 seconds there, getting a lot quicker. But importantly, my heart rate during this is coming down. So the last run I'd done, which was a few days ago now, it was around the 130 mark when I was running. So that's really, really good. So the workouts have been really good, fantastic. You know, I'd never imagined I'd be where I am now, 12 weeks out from open heart surgery. Do I get repercussions? Do I get any pains? Not really, nothing that concerns me. I get some muscle aches, and I've spoken before about the numbness in the right pec. So where they made the incision, the left side seemed to be fine. I was getting so much sort of numb pins and needles down the right side of the pec. That comes and goes, but actually it doesn't tend to happen when I'm lifting weights, I'm pushing myself. The last time it happened was the other day when I went out for about an hour walk, and it seemed to hurt then. But again, it's not anything that I'm not aware of. So, you know, you have to understand you've gone for open heart surgery. There's going to be repercussions. There's going to be little aches and pains and things like that. And as long as I'm aware of what's going on with my chest, the incision, my breathing, and all of that sort of stuff, I haven't had any, repercussions or anything that I've stopped and thought, whoa, I'm not going to do that. I've had certain things. So the first few times I was doing certain exercises with the barbell in the gym. So when you're doing squats, so you got your hands behind the bar and a bar on your back. That obviously opens up the chest, and that was really painful in the incision. You could feel it stretching, but I was just taking it easy. I made sure I didn't put a load of weight on there. I went through the whole range of motion going down. So obviously when you do a squat, your chest is going forward, and obviously you're facing forward, your chest is pushing out, and you're pivoting on the hips. So there's a lot of, expanding the chest, and I wanted to make sure I was doing that range of motion, making sure I was stretching the incision, stretching the scar, testing out that, breastbone, making sure it's healed, and start to rebuild the muscle that goes across there. So no issues there. Running, again, the first time I ran, it was really slow, like I said, but from the incision where I was running up and down, and there was obviously a bit of movement in the chest as you're running, it felt a bit sore maybe for the first minute or two, and then I got into a bit of a rhythm, and that was fine. No issues there. The one thing I do notice now that I'm starting to push myself running a bit more, at the end of it, and maybe for an hour or two afterwards, my lungs feel, I don't want to say like they've got fluid in them, but when you've had a cold and, you cough and it's a little bit chesty and you're just trying to clear the lungs. Now, what I've been told that is because I'm starting to stretch that capacity of the lungs that probably hasn't been used for quite some time. So other long-lasting effects, what can I tell you? Open heart surgery, there's going to be muscle aches, muscle pains, irregular heartbeat sometimes that are perfectly natural at this stage of the process. Your body is still healing, it's still getting used to things the way they are. Everything is perfectly natural. One of the things I suffer with the most, and is such a minor thing, is my incision is really tight, and I'll caveat that, and how I explain it's tight is I'm a side sleeper, and the good thing for me, as I've said in these videos, and a lot of people hate me for what I've said on these videos about how easily I've been able to sleep. In hospital, it was terrible. At home, first night, slept like a baby. I've only had 2 sleepless nights in 12 weeks, or 11 weeks being at home, 12 weeks post-op. So that's been fantastic. Those early days, I had to sleep on back because obviously it was just uncomfortable sleeping on a side. And it probably took me a couple of weeks, and then I was just like, right, I'm going to sleep on my side. And it was a bit uncomfortable, but I got used to it. That is my default position. I'm a side sleeper. And because of that, and obviously, you can imagine you're on your side, your incision is compressed, the chest is all together. The first thing that happens in the morning, you can imagine me sleeping like this, very, very good, example. You get up, and the first thing that happens is, your chest expands, and that scar, the incision, spreads, and it is so uncomfortable, it's unreal. So I've started to use bio oil. There's a bio oil cream, gel, different oils. Other moisturising products are available, but that's just what my wife had in the cupboard. So I've been using that. So if I remember, I'm usually a typical guy. I will forget to do these things. So if I remember, I'll put it on when I'm in bed, just as I'm, before I go to sleep. Make sure the scar is moisturised, and that does tend to help in the morning. But again, it's such a small issue, small niggle, and once I'm up, and you've taken that first movement of getting up, and it stretches, by the time I've stumbled to the toilet or whatever, it's gone. So it really is such a minor sort of repercussion of the surgery. The other repercussion, which you can still hear in this video, is my voice. Now, it has got a lot better. So I really struggled with my voice post-op. And it was where I was struggling with the breathing tube when I was in the ICU, and I was, they were trying to bring me round, and, every time they were bringing me round, I was struggling because I could feel the breathing tube down my throat, and you know, it's a vicious cycle. At one point they were concerned about the damage, and they put a scope down there just to see if there was any damage, and there wasn't anything lasting. But what I do find is if I talk a lot, so always doing these videos because I love to talk on these videos, it always starts to go. I'm always having to stop to drink and things like that. Also, you know, because of my work, you know, like I said, I'm working from home. I am in lockdown. I'm in the UK. It means that my day is full of Skype calls, Zoom calls, telephone conferences, and I really struggle come the afternoon. If I've had a day of back to back to back telephone calls or meetings, I could barely talk. My voice is really dry and things like that. But it has improved. In the 12 weeks, it's got better. There's more stamina in the voice. In the early days, I was trying to do stuff like lemon and honey and all of that sort of stuff. And to be fair, I probably need to, you know, do a few more of those home remedies to just keep on top of it. Make sure, you know, I'm not stressing it too much, and make sure it's recovering well. But, you know, if I had to cherry pick all of the things that could have gone wrong after surgery, having a tight scar, having a dodgy voice, you know, probably at the top of the list based on the other repercussions that could have happened. So I spoke about the INR level earlier. I'll talk a little bit about warfarin and the medication I'm on. So I'm currently only on 2 long-term medications from the surgery. I take asthma inhalers, and I have done since I was probably 10, I think, 10 or 11. But my asthma is so mild, it's unbelievable. Basically, it's quite seasonal, and if I am ill or if I've got hay fever, it tends to then trigger the asthma. But that's really well controlled. So other than the 2 asthma inhalers, it is the warfarin, of course, the anticoagulation medication that I take because I do have a mechanical valve, and the ramipril, which I'm not sure what the other brand names are, but it's blood pressure tablets to keep the blood pressure down because of what the heart's been through on surgery. Certainly for me, post-op, my blood pressure was really high. And a lot of people get this. I've spoken to quite a few of you, and you've all kind of concurred. Some people, after a matter of months, you know, it's taken away. For some people, it's longer term, if not for life, depending on how the heart's recovered. The warfarin hasn't been an issue. You know, I know it's a contentious piece of medication, Coumadin, warfarin, anticoagulation medication. Obviously, there's loads of different types, but the one that's taken, certainly in the UK, the only one that is approved for mechanical valves is warfarin. And other than obviously it being, you know, sensitive to working out and the INR level going up and down a bit, it hasn't bothered me. I've got a good routine going. I've stuck to the same routine I've had in hospital. So first thing in the morning with breakfast, I take my blood pressure tablet, so ramipril, normally before 7 o'clock in the morning. And then my warfarin tablets are then taken at 6 o'clock every day. And without fail, the only one time that I didn't take it at 6 o'clock was I was out walking the dogs, but my reminder kept on going off. I just snoozed it until I got home, and I maybe took it about maybe 20 past, 6:30. So, you know, no concerns there. You know, I haven't forgotten to take the warfarin. I have an alarm on my phone and a reminder. So the alarm goes off at 6 o'clock in the evening every day. And then there's a reminder a couple of minutes later. And of course, as I've shown before, I've got a pill box. And, you know, it's a visual reminder that you haven't taken your tablets that day. Appreciate I'm only 12 weeks in. Appreciate I'm in lockdown. So it's really, really difficult to forget medication because it's not as if I'm out and about. The big challenge for me will come in the future when things start going back to normal. I'm out with work, I'm traveling, I'm on holiday. Those are going to be the situations where perhaps I could forget. So I'm going to have to be, you know, ultra cautious to make sure that taking the medication and keeping on top of everything. So lockdown in the UK and pretty much everywhere in the world. So wherever you're watching this video, you would have experienced lockdown of some degree. Whether or not you're in it, you're out of it, you're phasing out of it, you're going back in it. Who knows? It is bizarre. It's the most bizarre thing that I've ever gone through. And in some ways, I think it's almost a cruel joke being played on me by the heart gods of recovery, because it is, here you go, Simon, we're going to let you recover so quickly from open heart surgery that you're going to be fine. But by the time you've recovered, the whole world's going to be in lockdown, so you can't do anything anyway. So it is a bit of a funny situation that it's almost, you know, my recovery's wasted. You know, I can't go out and do what I want to do, all joking aside. But you know, I've tried to keep a routine. It's helping work. You know, having a routine helps. Working helps. You know, build up that routine, which is all good. So in terms of checkup, so in a normal world, without lockdown, without the craziness that is coronavirus, I would have had a post-op assessment at 6 weeks. That hasn't happened. I'm 12 weeks and I've heard nothing from the hospital other than I have an appointment next week over the phone. So, which will be 13 weeks post-op, will be a checkup over the phone. So I'm sure if I had any problems, if I had any concerns, that I could have gone and had, you know, ECG, echo, X-ray, all of that good stuff. But under the circumstances, you know, I'm healing really well, I feel really good, and I don't necessarily want to travel into central London to go to a hospital if I don't need to. So, yeah, it's a bit weird that I've had open heart surgery. For those of you who have seen the other video will know that my discharge was so quick that I wasn't even expecting it. You know, I was kind of, you know, walked back from the day room and ambushed to say, oh, by the way, you're going in a few hours. So from that to now, to not having any sort of contact with the hospital, with the doctors, with the nurses, has been a bit weird, I'll admit. But I'll caveat that with the fact that I have had such a good recovery that I didn't need to seek medical attention during a pandemic, which has been really good. So I've got a check-up, like I said, next week. It's over the phone. I'm hopeful that off the back of that, they will schedule something later this year, even if it is in a couple of months' time, to have that ECG, echo, ultrasound, you know, have the X-ray. You know, I'm lifting weights, I'm running, I'm doing everything else. I'm pretty sure the breastbone's healed, but it'll be good to just have an update on how the valve's getting on. You know, that for me is absolutely key. But I genuinely feel really, really good. So no concerns, and I'm kind of just, I'm going with the flow. We'll have the phone call and go from there. So going back to repercussions, going back to medication, going back to warfarin. So just kind of rounding that off. One of my concerns, and one of the concerns that a lot of people have, is being an active person on warfarin. How are you going to cope with that? How are you going to cope with the bruising? How are you going to cope with the bleeding and all of that? 12 weeks in, I haven't found it an issue. I'll caveat that with, I'm on lockdown currently, so I'm not out playing contact sports. That obviously is discouraged anyway. I'm not in scenarios where I could forget, or, you know, I'm going to take a knock or a fall or anything like that. But I'll caveat that again with a fact that I am doing things without thinking about I'm on warfarin. Rightly or wrongly, you know, foolishly or not, you know, I dived in and I was doing some gardening the other day, and I did pick up a cut from a rose bush or a thistle or whatever it was. Didn't even notice. It's one of those, didn't notice it happened at the time, and I didn't even notice that it was bleeding, and it actually clotted quite nicely. Now, that could be a bad thing because my INR's all over the place at the moment, so it could be an indication that it's a bit too low. But that's just to say, little cuts and things like that I've had so far, I haven't had an issue with bleeding. Because the anticoagulation clinic is closed, I'm having to go and have full bloods drawn, which is a frustration because it's normally, like I said, a finger prick and it's really quick, and now I'm having to have bloods taken, and I am bruising from the bloods, and obviously that is a repercussion and a side effect of being on warfarin. But also, again, I think it is down to the phlebotomist who's doing it, because for 2 tests I had the same lady and it was a bruise, consistent. It was, you know, the same size, you know, no issues. I was thinking it is what it is. Different lady last week, no bruise. So again, INR could be too low, warfarin's not taking effect, or the phlebotomist was just a more of an accurate hit on the vein and wasn't you know, bruising me up too much. So so far no real repercussions, but you know, still really early days. So ticking, I've done a video about ticking. I've recorded a ticking happening that I've managed to figure out that, so my desk that's behind me, if I lean forward on it and the heart's obviously closer to the chest wall and it's silent, so like now, obviously I very much doubt you can pick it up on a camera, but I can hear it. So when I'd done that, I thought, okay, I'm gonna try and record it, stick it up on YouTube, which I did. It's only a 20-second video, but in general, I have to go out of my way to hear the ticking, put myself in situations when I know it's going to be louder, you know, like I said, leaning you know, leaning forward, hearing it then, or sitting in silence and actively listening for it. You know, they are the only times I really hear it, and that hasn't changed from a few weeks ago. Very much a few weeks ago, telling you on these videos that the ticking did not bother me. It wasn't something that kept me up. You know, when I've always been in a routine of when I go to bed, I always read. You know, I'll read something, even if it's for 10 minutes. And if I'm lying there, I can hear it ticking away, but it's never been loud enough that it bothers me. When I then turn off the light, I'm going to sleep, it doesn't bother me. Whether or not I'm lucky, whether or not I had a mindset where I was preparing for the worst, and that has helped. I was expecting to almost hear like this drumming noise just coming out your ears just constantly, that you couldn't hear people talk or whatever, and it really hasn't been that bad. I appreciate everyone's different, everyone's bodies are different, but I didn't even hear it in a hospital, you know, and whether or not it's just everything else going on, it took me until I got home to really hear it, and now I have to actively go out of my way to hear it, you know, or I can put myself in positions or situations where it is louder than it would normally be. But, you know, if I look at everything, the pros and cons between the bovine or the tissue valve versus the mechanical valve, for me personally, the two main, not even sticking points, but the concerns I had were the ticking and warfarin, the use of anticoagulation medication for life. Those were the two factors. So far, so good. You know, I know this is a lifetime, if not 25 years to life decision. You know, potentially could need to be replaced. So it is a long-term decision and a long-term journey. These things can change, these things can modify, and things can happen. So yeah, so far so good. Really happy with how that's gone. That's it really. You know, the incision has healed pretty well. Pretty happy with how that's gone. Happy with how everything's gone in general. You know, the one sticking point is the lockdown. You know, I haven't seen friends, haven't seen family outside of that first week out of hospital, and then since then, you know, I've been in pretty much lockdown. You know, I'm not concerned about coronavirus. You know, I'm fitter and healthier than I was pre-operation. I don't consider myself at risk. I don't consider myself as having a heart condition. I have a mechanical heart. My immune system, I'm hopeful, is better than it's ever been. I've been working out more than I've ever worked out in the past 12 to 18 months. So positive sort of signs from that. You know, I couldn't have asked for a better recovery or a, you know, a more perfect recovery, and, you know, surprising people as to where I am, my progress, getting back to work really quickly. And also 12 weeks is quite poignant because today should have been the day that I returned to work, or tomorrow, as 12 weeks is the, you know, 12 weeks from the operation. And potentially phase returning from this week. And I've already been in work for 6 weeks. You know, I've been working out for 6 weeks. I've been, you know, slowly doing the things I wanted to do, and doing DIY around the house, and going up in the loft yesterday, and I was up a ladder the other day, and, you know, still taking things easy, but, you know, listening to my body and going from there. I'm not sure what the future of this channel is going to be. The videos I'm going to post, you know, you guys don't want to see a video every week of how I'm progressing. 12 weeks for me was a big milestone. I really wanted to do a video. I wanted to give you guys an update, let you know where I am, and you've got a bit of the suite of the videos. You've got a pre-op video, you got the videos of straight afterwards, you know, 6 weeks afterwards, and now 12 weeks post-op. So, you know, hopefully, as I've always said, these videos are helpful. If 10 seconds of these videos are helpful to one person who's going through it, whose family are going through it, that's all I aim to do. It was my purpose, is to just set out and just put as much information up there from my own personal experience of going through aortic valve replacement, you know, what I'm going through. So moving forward, the videos probably aren't going to be like this regularly. I'm not going to be doing these big updates every 6 weeks. No doubt I'll do them at big milestones, maybe at half year, maybe at year. But what I will do is post shorter videos like I've been doing, maybe a workout montage or some clips of what I've been eating, what I've been doing, getting back to work and recovering, and things like that, just to keep things ticking over, hopefully inspire some of you, help some of you, your loved ones, your family, friends, whoever it is that's going through this. You know, there's things I want to do. I'm going to kind of keep a lid on some of this at the moment, because I just genuinely don't know if things are going to happen because of the lockdown, because of coronavirus. I really don't know where we're at. You know, I really wanted, and I still want, and, you know, something is going to happen. It just depends when it is, so I'm not going to announce anything now, but give something back to the hospitals, to the charities that are involved. You know, the British Heart Foundation, the Royal Brompton Hospital, and its charities. So it's, what can I do to give back? And what can I do to help spur on my recovery? You know, I am still at 12 weeks. You know, I'm not doing anything contact. You know, I'm not doing contact sports. I'm not doing a hustle and bustle of commuting to and from work, which is a 2-hour round trip every day, hour there, hour back. So I've got all of that to come yet. So those videos are going to be uploaded. You know, they'll be short. Snippets of how things are going. I just want to finish off the video by saying that I'm just so thankful and grateful for everyone who's, you know, watched these videos, liked, subscribed, commented. You know, I genuinely didn't expect to get 10 views, let alone the hundreds of views that we've got. The subscribers, you know, are creeping up. I'm never ever going to break through as a YouTube star. I'm not going to have millions of viewers. I'm not going to have all of these you know, subscribers or whatever, but hopefully these videos have been useful, and not just for now. You know, I'm filming these as is live. You know, I'm doing these at different stages of my recovery. These are going to stay up for years. You know, I know some of the videos I watched that really helped me through those early stages of building up to the operation. They were a year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, and these people just posted them up and forgotten about. So I've made a point of going back to the individuals, you know, thanking them for doing their videos, even if it was years ago, because they've been really, really helpful. So whenever you're watching this, or any of the other videos for that matter, just really, really grateful for listening to me rambling on. But hopefully, you know, what I'm saying can inspire people. You can take some comfort from my experience that, look, let's not beat around a bush. Open heart surgery is a massive, massive surgery. It's so evasive in the fact that they're cutting you open, they're cracking you open, they're stopping your heart and your lungs. You're on a bypass machine. It is, huge, huge surgery. But for the surgeons who do it, it's 10 a penny. They do 1,000 of these in their careers, thousands in their careers. It's just so routine. And some people take longer than others to recover. Some people are quicker than others. I've been really, really fortunate that, 12 weeks and I'm running, I'm lifting weights, I'm working, I'm doing everything that I wanted to do at this point in my recovery. But others can't. Other people are on that journey. Showing what I can do or what I've done spurs a few of you on. Some of you who are worried about open heart surgery will see the videos, and hopefully it inspires you that it isn't that bad. It is terrible right at the early days. You are on rock bottom. You are at rock bottom. The hours you wake up after surgery. When you can't get into bed and can't get out of bed and you have to be moved and everything aches and you can't sleep and you're on drugs and you're on medication and you get out of breath just walking and climbing the stairs is like Everest. But all of these things are just gradual. It's just take one step at a time. Your journey is personal. It's your own journey. You're going to get to where you're going to get to. It's all about having that positive mindset. You've had open heart surgery. If you can't run after 6 weeks, that's your journey. Caveat it. Before I was working out, I was, I had a good baseline level of fitness. So just thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for listening to me rambling on, because this has actually been part of my recovery. To be able to sit here and talk to a camera and my thoughts, my feelings and my experience to go out around the world and to be viewed is all part of that therapy, part of that dealing with what's happened to me. And I encourage, if you're that way inclined, to do it yourself, to have those moments and share them with the communities that are on Facebook. And I will in the text, in the footer of this the video, in a descriptor, I'll put all of the Facebook group links there. I've found some that I didn't even know about in the last couple of months since my recovery. All really, really supportive on there. Some good advice, some people on there that have had valves for 20, 30 years. It's fantastic to hear. So, your journey's your own. Your body's your own. Listen to your body. You're on that journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm telling you I'm running, but I'm not running quicker than some people. I'm not running as quick as I used to run yet. I'm still on that journey. I'm not lifting weights like I used to lift. I'm not playing sport like I used to play sport. There's a lot of things I'm not doing, but there's a very famous saying, and I've probably used it on these videos before, but comparison is the death of joy. If you're always comparing your own personal journey from this against other people's, you will always lose joy in it. I think I'm doing well where I am now, but I guarantee if I sort out other people, there's people who are fitter, healthier, stronger, quicker, faster than I am at that 12-week stage. But it's all about that personal journey, to be better than you were yesterday, to do something better than you did yesterday, to move quicker, to walk, to lift, to whatever it is, to have a positive mindset, to be on that journey or your own personal journey throughout this. It's a life-affirming operation for me. It puts things in perspective. It helps you prioritize things in life, and you can look at open heart surgery or any illness or any cancers or anything like that you survive from. You can look at it in a negative, that you've had it and your life is now somehow restricted or limited because you've had it, or you can look at the positive, that you see things differently to people who take things for granted. For me, it is a blessing rather than a curse that I've gone through this. I look at life positively. I've always been a positive person, but since the operation, I look at things differently. I don't necessarily get wound up with things from work anymore, because I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking at what's in my circle of influence and really what matters, you know. And maybe that will go. Hopefully it doesn't go. Hopefully I hold on to that, and in the future I still have that mindset that, you know, you've had massive surgery, it is life and death, you know, the success rates are good, but things could happen. So, you know, hopefully these videos have been useful. I'm going to stop rambling on now because I'm going to go off on another tangent. But like I said, you know, thanks for listening. It's been really useful for me, even if it hasn't been useful for you guys. It's been useful for me to just you know, express what I'm going through, let you know how my recovery is going, spur me on to the next video to make sure I was kind of progressing before I filmed a video. But also it helped me hone my video editing skills, which still aren't great, but are better than the first video. So if you look at the first video, compare it to this one, hopefully you'll see a step change. But like I said, certainly not the end of the videos, but probably the end in the short term for these long videos now that we're kind of at that 12-week stage.
All we need is hope, and for that we have each other, and for that we have each other. Yeah.